call the member for Hotham.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I'm incredibly proud today to stand in this chamber on the side of the Cambodian people and on the side particularly of Cambodian Australians. I have the enormous privilege of representing thousands of people in this parliament who are of Cambodian descent. I don't just represent them, Deputy Speaker, I represent their places of worship and their community organisations. The Wat Budurangsi, the Wat Khmer, the Wat Dharmaran, the Cambodian Association of Victoria, all of these pieces of community infrastructure are located in my electorate. Deputy Speaker, it is with huge regret that Labor moves the motion before the House this afternoon, and we do so because it is absolutely clear that the situation in Cambodia is going backwards, not forwards. The member for McMahon's given a really clear articulation of the things that have happened recently, but I just want to echo one of the points he made, and that is when I feel like the straw was broken here when we heard the leader of Cambodia, Hun Sen, actually say that he would effectively threaten violence on Australians who are born of Cambodian descent, who were protesting peacefully here in Australia when he visited. Now, Deputy Speaker, as members of the Australian Parliament, it's not appropriate for us to allow that sort of thing to go unaddressed, to go unspoken, and that's why we've got so many Labor members of Parliament standing up in the Parliament today to say enough is enough, and on this special day for Cambodian Australians, it's appropriate that we reflect on the past and we reflect on what we can do to secure a better future for Cambodians. Deputy Speaker, tomorrow we commemorate the 27th anniversary of the signing of the Paris Peace Accords. This marked the end of the Cambodian-Vietnamese War, and it was an enormously auspicious occasion that seemed to herald a new way of doing things in Cambodia. The agreement led to the deployment of the first post-Cold War peacekeeping mission and the first ever occasion in which the UN took over as the government of a state. The agreement was signed and agreed to by 19 countries. Speaker, the peace accord process launched a process of ceasefire, peacekeeping and rebuilding that stabilised the country, but there were deep wounds that were left unhealed through the 1970s genocides and the decades of war that have afflicted Cambodians. The peace process was one of the first of its scale undertaken by the international community after the Cold War. It was an enormous amount of work, and all of us in this chamber are entitled to feel proud because our country and our government, through the Foreign Minister at the time, Gareth Evans, was instrumental in making sure that Cambodia was able to turn that corner towards a brighter future for democracy in their country. Speaker, we love democracy in this chamber. We talk about it a lot, but most of us actually don't know what it feels like to fight, to have the right to do basic things like vote in an election, like to be able to peacefully stand in a chamber like this and articulate a point of view. But the Cambodian people understand that, and that's why hopes were so high after the Paris Peace Accords that things were going to improve. But, Deputy Speaker, things have turned in the opposite direction in recent times. We saw Cambodia become a multi-party democracy, but I don't think any commentator would describe Cambodia as a multi-party democracy today. Speaker, we've had a recent election in Cambodia. There have been enormous issues which do not reflect a democratic process that has taken place there. Speaker, in 2017, we saw the Cambodian opposition leader, Kem Sokha, be arrested on charges of so-called treason. And he was charged with treason on the basis of a speech that he gave in Melbourne, in my electorate, in 2013. That's how connected we are to what goes on in this country. Deputy Speaker, it's not just the imprisoning of the opposition leader. In 2016, the Cambodian government's most ardent critic, Dr. Kem Lay, was shot dead in broad daylight in Phnom Penh. The people who committed that crime, who planned that crime, who masterminded that crime, have never been brought to justice, Speaker. For too long, we have seen the leaders in Cambodia getting away, literally in some instances, with murder. And it's just not good enough for us to keep standing in this parliament and saying that we're not happy with this situation. I do believe the time has come to take action. And the member for Bruce has outlined some of the ideas that Labor has for how this might change. Deputy Speaker, one of the most obvious things we can do is call to the end this ridiculous refugee resettlement deal where the Australian government, the taxpayers listening to this broadcast now, have paid $50 million for the settlement of 3 refugees. Now, we can't continue like this, Deputy Speaker, and on this anniversary of the Paris Peace Accords, it's time for us to reshape this relationship and make it clear that Cambodians are not to be treated like this.